You'd think survival of the fittest would weed out the really stupid strategies. Well, animals didn't get the memo. Some species have developed survival tactics so monumentally dumb that the fact they're still around feels like a clerical error in the evolutionary record. We're talking about creatures that have actively chosen the worst possible way to stay alive, and somehow it's working just enough to keep them from going extinct. Let's look at nature's participation trophies. Number 1. The kakapo's death wish dating strategy. The kakapo is a flightless parrot from New Zealand that has perfected the art of terrible life choices. These birds only breed every 2 to 4 years, and only when a specific tree produces fruit, which means they've tied their entire reproductive future to the mood swings of a plant. When mating season finally arrives, males climb to the highest point they can waddle to, inflate a chest sack, and boom out mating calls that can be heard for 3 miles. Sounds impressive until you realize they're also broadcasting their exact location to every predator in the area. Female kakapos hearing this noise have to walk, not fly, sometimes several miles across dangerous terrain to reach the male. If she's not impressed when she arrives, which happens often, she just walks back. The male has no idea if anyone's coming because he faces away from approaching females while booming, so he can't see them arrive or leave. The kakapo population dropped to 51 birds in 1995. And honestly, their mating system is a big reason why. Number 2. Sunfish evolutionary surrender. The ocean sunfish is what happens when evolution gives up halfway through designing an animal. This thing is the heaviest bony fish in the world, weighing up to 5,000 pounds. And it's shaped like someone started drawing a fish, got bored, and just rounded it off with a crayon. Sunfish produce more eggs than any other vertebrate, up to 300 million at once, because their survival strategy is just playing the numbers game, since pretty much everything eats them. They can't close their mouths properly, so they're stuck in a permanent, surprised expression, while jellyfish, their main food source, offer basically zero nutritional value. A sunfish spends most of its day eating jellyfish just to break even on calories. They're also covered in parasites, hosting more than 40 species at once, and they deal with this by floating sideways at the surface, hoping seabirds will eat the parasites off them. Sometimes the sunfish gets so infested that it just beaches itself and dies. Their own body weight can crush their internal organs if they're out of water for too long, and they're so weak that ocean currents regularly just carry them places they don't want to go. Number 3. Pandas and their bamboo catastrophe. Giant pandas are bears that decided to become vegetarian, except they still have the digestive system of a carnivore. Their stomachs and intestines are designed to process meat, not plants, so they can only digest about 17% of the bamboo they eat. To get enough nutrition, a panda has to eat 26 to 84 pounds of bamboo every single day, which means they spend 14 hours a day just eating to barely survive. Bamboo is one of the least nutritious plants they could have picked, offering almost no protein or fat, and it's also not even reliably available since different bamboo species flower and die off at different times. Pandas have a thumb-like extension on their wrists to grip bamboo, which sounds adaptive until you remember they could have just kept eating meat like their ancestors and every other bear. Female pandas are only fertile for 24 to 72 hours per year, one of the shortest fertility windows of any mammal, and they usually only raise one cub even if they give birth to twins. The cub they don't choose just dies. Pandas in captivity often have zero interest in mating, and when they do, the males frequently have no idea what they're doing. Number 4. Koala incompetence from birth. Koalas have smooth brains, literally. The koala brain has far fewer folds than other marsupials, and it only takes up 60% of their skull cavity, with the rest filled by cerebrospinal fluid. This makes them phenomenally stupid, to the point where if you present a koala with eucalyptus leaves on a flat surface instead of on a branch, they often won't recognize it as food. They exclusively eat eucalyptus, which is toxic to pretty much every other animal, and the leaves are so low in nutrition that koalas have evolved to sleep 18 to 22 hours a day to conserve energy. Baby koalas can't digest eucalyptus at first, so the mother produces a special substance called pap, which is basically partially digested eucalyptus feces that the joey eats directly from her anus to populate its gut with the right bacteria. Koalas get almost no water from their diet, despite the name koala possibly meaning no drink in one Aboriginal language. And they're so specialized that they can't adapt to eating anything else if their specific eucalyptus trees die off. About 80% of koalas carry chlamydia, which causes blindness, infertility, and painful urinary tract infections. And it spreads easily because koalas bite each other during mating. Their survival strategy is being too toxic and stupid for most predators to bother with. Number 5. Turkey drowning in rain. Domestic turkeys, bred for meat production, have been selected for such large breast muscles that many can't mate naturally anymore and require artificial insemination. The wild claim that turkeys will stare up at rain with their mouths open until they drown is mostly false. But the truth is somehow worse. Turkeys will look up at aircraft, hawks, or anything in the sky for extended periods with their mouths open, a behavior called skylarking. And some turkeys genuinely have drowned during heavy rainstorms because they were looking up at the commotion. Young turkeys, called poults, are dumb enough that they can die of starvation or dehydration even when food and water are right in front of them because they haven't learned to look down. Farmers sometimes have to put marbles in turkey food to attract the birds' attention through shiny objects, essentially using clickbait to teach them how to eat. Wild turkeys are actually pretty intelligent and can recognize individual humans, but their domestic cousins have been bred into creatures that can barely function. Some heritage turkey breeds have better survival instincts, but the broad-breasted whites and bronzes raised for Thanksgiving are genetic disasters that would die almost immediately in the wild. Number 6. Sloth defecation death ritual. Sloths descend from trees to defecate once a week, losing up to 30% of their body weight in a single bathroom trip. This is monumentally stupid because sloths are nearly helpless on the ground, moving at about 0.17 miles per hour, and more than half of all sloth deaths happen during these poop trips when predators catch them. They could just defecate from the trees like every other arboreal animal, but instead they risk their lives climbing down, dig a hole with their tail, do their business, cover it up, and slowly climb back up. Scientists think this might be because sloths have a symbiotic relationship with moths that live in their fur, and the moths lay eggs in sloth dung. So the sloth is risking death to help moths reproduce. Sloths also have the lowest metabolic rate of any mammal, and their body temperature can drop to match their surroundings, which means they can literally become too cold to digest food and starve with a full stomach. Their fur grows in the opposite direction from other mammals, from belly to back, so water runs off when they're hanging upside down, but it also harbors an entire ecosystem of algae, fungi, and insects. Sloths are such efficient energy savers that they sometimes die from starvation simply because they used all their energy digesting food and had none left to find more. Number 7. Horned lizard blood-squirting panic. The horned lizard, also called the horny toad, defends itself by squirting blood from its eyes at predators. Not venom, not poison, just blood that shoots up to 5 feet from ruptured vessels in the sinuses near the eyes. This blood tastes awful to canines and felines because of compounds from the lizard's diet of harvester ants, which are themselves full of formic acid. So the survival strategy requires eating painful venomous ants, developing specialized sinuses that can rupture on command, and then hoping the predator finds your blood gross enough to drop you. Horned lizards can also inflate their bodies to appear larger and more difficult to swallow, and they have sharp scales all over their heads and backs, but apparently evolution decided the blood squirting needed to stay in the toolkit. They can lose up to 25% of their blood volume through their eyes and still survive. If the predator is a bird or snake instead of a mammal, the blood squirting doesn't work because those predators don't care about the taste. so the lizard just blinded itself with its own blood for nothing. These lizards also play dead when grabbed, going completely limp, which works sometimes, but also makes them easier to eat. Number 8. Fainting goat genetic disaster. Myotonic goats, commonly called fainting goats, have a genetic condition called myotonia congenita that causes their muscles to seize up when they're startled. They don't actually faint or lose consciousness. Their muscles just lock up for about 10 seconds. And if they're moving when it happens, they fall over stiff-legged. This is a terrible survival trait in the wild, since any predator scare causes the goat to become a frozen, defenseless meal. But farmers have intentionally bred for this condition for over a century. The genetic mutation is a defect in the chloride channels of muscle cells, and it's recessive, meaning both parents have to carry it. In the wild, this gene would have been eliminated immediately, but humans thought falling goats were hilarious and useful. Some farmers kept feigning goats with their sheep herds, because if a predator attacked, the goats would faint and get eaten, while the sheep escaped. The goats were literally living sacrifices. Fainting goats with more severe myotonia can't even breed naturally because the male's legs lock up during mounting. These goats also have higher rates of bone fractures from their repeated falling, and some develop such strong myotonia that their jaw muscles lock while eating, causing them to choke. Humans created an animal that's genetically programmed to become a helpless statue whenever it's afraid, and we continue to breed them on purpose. These animals prove that survival of the fittest has loopholes. Sometimes you can be profoundly stupid, catastrophically bad at basic survival, or genetically doomed, and still stumble forward into another generation through sheer dumb luck or human interference. Evolution doesn't always reward the best strategy. Sometimes it just rewards the strategy that kills you slightly slower than it kills your food supply. And as always, I love you guys.